Today, I want to talk to you about something truly important. Not just about my own happiness, but it is also about my child's and our children's future happiness. Because over time, I've realized something very clearly. The way I live my daily life, the way I look at the world around me, and the way I truly feel inside, the way I talk to myself is the way my child learns about life. Whether I'm aware of it or not, they are watching me. They don't just learn my spoken words, they learn my internal state of being. And this awareness puts a huge responsibility on one's shoulders. For a long time I kept asking myself this question: am I happy? Maybe you also ask yourself this question from time to time. But then I realized something. This question isn't as innocent as I thought. Because this question leads a person to constantly monitor themselves. Am I happy? Am I happy enough? Why am I less happy today? And without realizing it, this thought starts to form. I must be happy. And right at this point, a pressure begins. An invisible but very powerful pressure. Because now it's no longer about being happy. It becomes about having to be happy. And instead of finding peace within themselves, a person turns into someone who is constantly trying to fix something inside. I've experienced this. I chased after happiness. But the more I chased it, the more exhausted I became. Because happiness is not something to be chased after. True happiness is essentially a result, a significant internal indicator, much like a thermometer. It doesn't heat the room, it only shows what's there. And that day, I started asking myself a different question. What did I do today that made me feel good? That's where everything changed. Because I realized this. Happiness either comes from within or is expected from outside. And these two paths change a person's whole life. If you expect your happiness to come from outside, then your happiness depends on others. On the way that other people behave, on the constant need for other people's approval, and on the specific way that others might see you. But if happiness comes from within, then your happiness depends on yourself. No one can give it, no one can take it away. And this is where the real issue begins. Because most of the time, without realizing it, we teach our children this. That happiness comes from outside. We may not say this openly, maybe, but we teach it through our actions. Sometimes with sentences like these. If you succeed, I will love you. If you listen to me, I will love you. If you finish your food, I will love you. If you don't make me angry, I will love you. If you don't do what I want, I will sulk at you. At first glance, these sentences may seem normal, but the child doesn't hear it that way. The child understands it like this. I have to do something to be loved. The way I am is not enough. I am only valuable if I am the way they want me to be. And this leaves behind a truly profound and lasting mark. The child grows up, but this belief doesn't change. It just takes a different form. If I am liked, I am valuable. If I am successful, I am valuable. If I am applauded, I am valuable. And without realizing it, you make your happiness dependent on others. This is a very exhausting life, because you constantly have to prove something. You constantly have to be enough. You constantly have to be better. And here is the hardest part. No matter what you do, that emptiness inside never really goes away. Because that emptiness cannot be filled from the outside. It needs to be filled from within. And that is precisely the reason why I now firmly believe in this idea. True happiness ultimately depends upon oneself alone. Focusing on your own personal values, listening to your own inner voice, and the way you choose to treat yourself. When I am truly at peace and whole with myself, when I fully embrace and accept myself as I am, when I am kind and gentle with myself, happiness will naturally follow. And here's the most important part. Children are watching this. The specific manner in which I care for myself is how they will eventually learn to treat themselves. If I constantly criticize myself, they criticize themselves too. But if I show understanding to myself, they also learn to show understanding to themselves. That's why now I try to make my child feel this. Your worth does not depend on others. Your worth is within yourself. Not when you are successful. Not when you make me happy, not when you obey, but in every state you are in. And this feeling can change a child's life. Because then the child doesn't have to spend their whole life trying to prove something. They already know they are valuable. I no longer ask myself this question, am I happy? Instead I ask, what did I do today that made me feel good in my life? Did we laugh together? Did we really connect? Did I listen to them? Because for children, happiness is not something that comes from the outside. It is about genuine connection. The feeling of being seen, the act of being heard, and the sense of being fully understood. And these are tucked away within the most ordinary moments. In a fleeting glance, a gentle touch, and a brief, beautiful moment spent together. Now I know this very clearly. Happiness is not something to be sought. Happiness is something to be lived. And as I experience this in my own life, my child's life changes as well. And maybe this is what I can leave to them. The most valuable thing is this, to be a person who does not tie their happiness to others, who carries it within themselves, and this is true freedom.